This is the cream of the crop.
Welcome into this month's World of Warcraft baking video. Today we did the Firecracker Salmon, but in order to make that, we've got to start with the northern spices. This aromatic blend of spices will not only increase the flavor of any given recipe, but also add a warming element to dishes. That warmth is a welcome addition in the chilly region of Northrend, from which these delicious spices are traditionally gathered. It was 1 tablespoon of cardamom, 1 tablespoon dried juniper berries, 1 teaspoon of smoked salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/4 teaspoon allspice or nutmeg. Combine the spices and run them through a spice grinder. I actually chose to combine all of my ingredients into a mortar and pestle, and then ground them into a fine dust, making sure that it was able to be sprinkled lightly over top of the salmon and inside of the rub. Let's take a look at how that grinding process went. The most difficult task in all of the grinding became the juniper berries. While dried, they had a stiffness to them that was hard to get back past. But once we got through it and were able to grind up the juniper berries and the ginger into a fine powder, we had to go and find ourselves a jar because this made more than enough for our marinade. So we got to save some for some other recipes that may be coming up later this year. We're going to move right in to the Firecracker Salmon recipe. As you can see, that spice is all ready and all nice to go on to our salmon. The Firecracker Salmon. The warmth of the spices battles for dominance with the cool bite of the juniper, like the meeting of the cold glacial salmon and the fiery oven. Northrend food has never tasted so good. To make the Firecracker Salmon, you'll need 2 4-ounce salmon fillets, 1/4 cup sesame or vegetable oil, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon sriracha sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of northern spices, which we just finished making earlier in the video, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. You'll mix all of those ingredients into a Ziploc bag and allow it to marinate overnight. The salmon in this mixture needs at least 1 hour to fully start to absorb the deliciousness of your marinade. Once all the ingredients were mixed, I was more than happy to allow my marinade to soak overnight. I was not going to let these fillets lose out on any of that delicious mixture I spent so hard making, and of course, all that grinding down of ginger and those dried juniper berries. After that marinade has sat in the fridge overnight with the salmon fillets inside, it was time to get started. Take a baking sheet, line it with a little bit of tin foil, and then I added avocado oil to it. I like to cook with avocado oil. I think you can use vegetable oil to also line it. But once you get your tray lined, once your marinade has sat in, you take those fillets out of that bag and you drop them right on top of that tinfoil baking sheet. And you'll get a chance to see just how luscious and liquidy those things are, how much they have absorbed the juices of that marinade overnight. Once we had them both onto the sheet, preheated the oven to 450 and popped those things in for 15 minutes, making sure they were cooked thoroughly and all the way through. And the end result was something spectacular because they're called Firecracker Salmon. And when we pulled them out of the oven, they lived up to the name. Talk about firecracker. I absolutely loved making the Firecracker Salmon. Last month, we did a dessert. This month, we did a main entree. I placed it over top of a bed of rice with a cucumber and boiled egg salad, and it hit the spot. It was a healthy, delicious dinner for my wife and myself. I would highly recommend taking the time to make some Firecracker Salmon, put a little bit of warmth in your belly, and make sure you enjoy this delicious treat from Northrend on Azeroth. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you come back next month for some more World of Warcraft baking.